You came up with this theory within about 48 hours, building the whole thing, talking about how there's no possible way from the vantage point that they're reporting, especially with the caliber that they're saying. That, I mean, it's just absolute bullshit. Given what we were being told with what we could readily access available from just videos and clips and stuff that we were circulating all through X and social media, this is what we came up with based on the information we knew at the time. Correct?
Yeah. Well, and then there's also the congressman or senator or whatever, whoever that is in the Utah body.
Yeah.
He got on Fox News directly after. He said before anyone could essentially watch his story, was he thought that the round came from a different area, and he thought it came real close to Charlie.
Yeah.
How loud of a shot that was, who knows?
He still holds that theory today. Yes, he still holds that. He 100% disagrees with what's being reported. Yep.
Then you've got that other individual who was interviewed post assassination, that when he was telling where he thought the shot came from, and he had a group of Turning Point staff that rushed him, and essentially,
actually, I have an update on that one as well, because Candace talked about that on her podcast as well. So it wasn't actual Turning Point.
It was volunteers.
It was a volunteer. It was one specific person, a volunteer guy. And it was the person who was holding the mic for Charlie that day.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one who was holding the mic for people to come up. That's like a huge honor for Turning Point chapter people. But yet for some reason, that specific day was just a volunteer for some other fucking organization that has happened to get that major honor that usually Turning Point chapter members get when they come, you know, he comes to campuses. And he actually went to talk on Fox News that night and the next day, giving firsthand accounts. But he was the one that was actually stopping that fucking kid that was giving, that kid that was giving that firsthand account, he's a Turning Point member. And that volunteer who doesn't work for Turning Point was the one stopping him from giving that fucking interview.
Okay. So, I can't remember what it was, but I knew there was something like that. But that was really, really weird. That's a weird situation.
Yep.
Yes, this video is the one I was talking about.
So this kid right here is an actual Turning Point member, or like not a worker, but like he's a part of the Turning Point chapter, I believe, in UVU area or something like that. But he is officially a part of the Turning Point association.
Yeah.
Okay. I was standing from probably the third row in the bottom.
So he's standing very close, just like the congressman said, very, very close.
I heard the shot ring out. I looked to my left, and then I looked over to my right. I saw him slump over in his chair forward. He slumped over. He had blood coming from the left side of his neck down his shirt, and he slumped over, and he was carrying.
And this fucking asshole, who is not a part of Turning Point whatsoever, who is just a volunteer with Turning Point at that time, who was the person who was holding the microphone for people who came up to disagree or whatever with Charlie. And it's usually a big honor reserved for people who are actually a part of Turning Point, and went on Fox News that night and the next day to give, this is what happened and blah, 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 all this bullshit. He's the one that shut this down. And from what Candace Owens reported on her podcast on Thursday, this guy cannot speak out till this day because he's been instructed to not engage with any journalist, media, or anybody. And so this is what's going to lead us into our next part of this.
So, you lead into it.
Given our new information, particularly what was talked about on Candace Owens' podcast on Thursday. Okay. Now, she said that she's gone through all the tips. I've sent her a bunch myself, including what we just presented to you as where we believe the shot came from, right? She says that she is 100% confirmed by seeing the ME report that Charlie was 100% shot from the front. 100%. That doesn't mean she's agreeing with the whole 30 out 6 from the rooftop by Tyler Robinson. She's still not buying it. She's still calling bullshit just like we are. But given that she thinks that it came from the front, and going along with that congressman, I can't remember his name, his theory that it was very close. She said from the ME report that there was no exit wound. So what we saw was the entrance wound. And that's why we saw essentially so much coming out from the front. It was an entrance wound and exploded his artery in his neck, which now can make a little bit more sense. And there was a fragment found out by his spine. Okay, so just a fragment of the bullet that was found in his spine. Now, as we will look here at Candace's X-Wall, she believes in a couple of potential theories. It is completely possible that the hospital removed the bullet, but there was no bullet recovered from Charlie's body at the medical examiner's office during the autopsy. They are guarding the name of the hospital surgeon, which I find to be quite strange. No 30 out 6 used. Okay, so theory 1, that Charlie made it to the hospital with whatever round did hit Charlie in the front, still inside of his body. Surgeon removed it. And then whenever Charlie was pronounced dead and he went to the medical examiner, there was the main part of the bullet was no longer inside of his neck, and that's why there was only a trace of the bullet found by his spine. Theory number 2.
But is that really why there was only a trace?
I don't know. We're about to find out. Theory number 2. Someone removed the bullet before it got to the ME. Maybe it wasn't the surgeon. Maybe somebody else, like beforehand, right? I don't know. From the time he was shot to the point of getting to the hospital, maybe somebody dug it out of his. I don't know, but
you see, but the medical examiner, so the ME would find some sort of evidence that someone had already dug into the wound. You're going to leave evidence that someone got in there with forceps or whatnot.
That's a possibility. But the thing is that if a 30 out 6 round was used and there was no exit wound, where is the actual round that was found inside Charlie's body to prove that it was a 30 out 6 that killed him? Now, people who know a little bit about guns, like you and me, knows that if a 30 out 6 was shot and entered your neck, you are going to rip that person's neck probably in half, and it is going through, no questions asked. I don't care how strong you are, because that is a high-powered round with a lot of kick. Am I right or am I wrong?
Very high velocity round, and it is a high grain round on top of that. So you've got a lot of weight behind it, and that's going to cause a lot of kinetic energy. It's going to be hard to stop that round. It's going to completely blast straight through everything that you're going to shoot it at.
Exactly. So that's why
it's going to stop at a brick wall. You know what I mean? That's where that round's going to be sitting afterwards. It's going to be sitting on a piece of concrete or, in a brick wall behind them.
Yeah. That's why it's just not even beginning to be a possibility that it's a 30 out 6. But here's where we're coming in with something that a lot might say, you guys are fucking nuts. Well, we don't give a shit. You guys are conspiracy theorists. Well, a lot of days conspiracy theories get proven right in 6 to 8 months.
Conspiracy theory was never a bad term up until the government wanted to utilize it as it was the crazies. because there are conspiracies. And when people started to really lean on some of these conspiracy theories back in the 60s, that's when the government started to say, hey, those people are crazies. That was what gave that negative connotation to the word conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Because it's all about conspiring. See, that is what a lot of people don't understand is conspiracy is to conspire. They're conspiring to cover something up or change the narrative on events.
What if from the time that Charlie was shot to the time that he got to the hospital, there was a reason that there was just a fragment of the bullet left to find? And this is where I give it over to you, Dustin.
Magic bullet theory. Love it. All right, so I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard of frangible bullets.
Not even close.
A frangible bullet, frangible, whatever. I can't talk. I'm a redneck. Anyways, so a frangible bullet, it's made out of dust of alloys. So you take a handful of metals, you pack them real tight together with a binder. There's a lot of different binders you can utilize, and you turn it into a bullet. You put it in your mold, you press your mold, you press it into your casing, and you fire away. So it is a low penetration round. It fragments, it essentially completely tears apart and disintegrates. It does leave some residue and some pieces, and it can leave fragments as well. But it's usually made for shoot houses. Military uses a lot of them, and it's so that you don't have a lot of ricochet. You know, that is one thing that I think that a lot of people are overlooking, that if the shooter or the organization that wanted to get rid of or silence Charlie, they didn't want a whole lot of collateral damage. They wanted to assassinate that one individual, and they wanted to set an example of him by doing it on stage in front of everyone. He could have been assassinated at any given time behind closed doors, or when he was in a vehicle or going to the grocery store or anything. And he was done on public display, when the funny fact about this is it's one of the few times that CNN and other organizations were airing the event. Why is that?
Just like in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Ooh. Conspiracy theory. Anyways, back to it. So that type of round is a low velocity round. It's low penetration rate, so it would not have exited. There would have been no exit wound. It is used by the military, and it is used by combustible firearms. So it is tried and true. It is used by the military. They can be bought at this online. They can buy a lot of ammunition houses. So a lot of gun stores will shoot them, especially if they have an indoor shooting range. You can get them. They're safe to use. They don't mess up your firearm, anything like that. That was one thought process. But now let's go down to the rabbit hole. You already
Hang on,
dig that shovel?
So here's what I found. Some frangible training ammo. Okay. Got like 2.2. You can get them in all rounds, like 223, 380. Yeah. Okay. You're saying that this tip is what's packed, the packed dust or whatever? Usually,
yes. Those are actually a coated tip. I can see from it's a coated tip, so it would have more of an alloy look to them. They are more of a grayish, and you can see a speckle pattern like the one I showed you. None of those are so those are all pre-coated. So those are actually going to leave more residue because you have either a copper or a soft alloy coating over the ammunition.
So frangible bullets. Now,
right there.
Where?
Scroll down. Were you scrolling down just now or scrolling up?
I'm scrolling up.
Right there.
This?
That center. Nope. Down. You click on that. Zoom that in.
This?
Yeah. maybe from my angle that looks possible. Fuck, that's coated. That's got a light coating, but that's closer.
This one. This right here. This is exactly
Yeah.
what you fucking sent me.
Okay, yeah, that's closer. Yeah. So they're very
it's closer. It's closer. It's closer. This is exactly what you fucking sent me, you dipshit.
Hey, go fuck yourself. But those are very porous, and yeah, they'll break away. It essentially falls apart.
Damn it, you made that so painful. Okay, so going forward to the next type of bullet that is the theory that you actually believe is what possibly killed Charlie.
Yes, and before I make this statement, I want to just say this. We have a ripcord procedure, and if I am killed or die in any which way, I am safe every day. I don't do anything crazy. I don't drive like I do drive like a retard, but I drive safe and I drive a big fucking truck. That's not going to kill me in an auto accident, and I'm not going to myself. So I just want to say that, and we have a ripcord SOP already ready. So have you ever heard of liquid metals? I know we have
liquid metals. I mean, aside from like when you melt them down to like forge something, I mean,
liquid metals are a metal that has a very low temp threshold melting point.
Okay.
So metals that are very soft, metals like beryllium, you can make ammunition with those, and those actually have been tried with the military. It is experimental and in the private sector as well, but there's another one. This is the big one, and this is the one that I think it could have possibly been. It's a metal called gallium. It is a very soft metal. A very, very soft metal. The melting point of it is at 83 degrees Fahrenheit. And it will go fully solid. It can be bonded with trace amounts of other alloys for structure. So copper, aluminum, lead, anything such as that. And all you have to do is put trace amounts in it, and it'll keep its structural integrity. But here's the thing, you don't need it. You don't need it to hold its composure and its structure if you can keep it chilled. So if you can keep it below 83 degrees. Hey, can you look up what the temperature of Utah was on the day of the shooting?
Okay. Well, so gallium is a chemical element, atomic number 31, melting point, negative 19 degrees Celsius, negative 2 degrees Fahrenheit, well below freezing. Gallium, element of gallium is a liquid at temperatures greater than 85.57 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. Melts in a person's hand and normal human body temperature at 98.6. Okay.
So that says 85, but I think that they're giving a area of a level of error, because typically gallium melts at about 83 degrees. So you might start getting some of that melting sensation at that 85, but really to melt it, you're going to see 83 degrees. So 85 degrees, you might see, like if you,
well,
you hold
a M&M in your hand. It's not saying melting, it says liquefy. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And so,
so kind of the M&M effect. So you hold an M&M in your hand and you're going to get some of that smearage. Now, if to fire one of these rounds, you can shoot it from a high velocity round, which you would need something as another bonding agent, such as a lead or a copper or something like that. And it's fine. It'll work. You can shoot it. You're going to actually get some corrosive splatter on that barrel, and it's going to ruin that barrel over time. But you can do it. Low velocity works a lot better. just because you have a lower combustion and temperature index, so you're going to be less likely to melt as fast and tear apart the round. It's got a low penetration on soft targets. So essentially what happens is it will not go all the way through a target. You can shoot a hard target, such as wood, brick, metal, will not penetrate at all. It'll essentially just splatter and go everywhere. You shoot it on a soft target, you're going to penetrate and you're going to get low penetration. It's also on a soft target going to give you what's called a snowflake effect. So everyone sees a snowflake on the pictures of what a snowflake is. It's got the rigid look all over the place. Okay. So the reason it does this, because it's low velocity, and while it's traveling through air, you've got kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is going to have that friction, and it's going to heat up. So it's going to essentially liquefy or partially liquefied while in travel. The shorter the distance, the better, because the limited amount of heat index that can be generated, and it'll hold together better. So
I'm
what
looking up
happens
the
is
weather. I'm looking up the weather, and UVU is located specifically in Orem, which I know where that is because when I was stationed in Utah. And this is a little interesting because the temperature for that day says the high was 76 degrees. So that would, I guess, kind of play into your theory to try to help with the structural integrity, correct?
Very much so. And the transportation.
Yeah. Because the
Okay.
lows was 56, which I'm guessing would be like early morning, late night. But the high was said to be 76 degrees. So
yes. Okay. Okay, perfect. So and back to the snowflake effect. So a snowflake, if you ever look at a snowflake, what typically people think they look like, if you're going to hang it onto a Christmas tree or such, or the kids bring home the cutout snowflakes, they're round and they're kind of rigid all the way around. Well, this type of round, because it is not going to hold up its structural integrity very well, what it's going to do is upon contact, it's going to splatter. Okay. And because of the low velocity, it's not just going to straight penetrate through. What it's going to do is it's going to tear the skin. It's going to make a larger opening. It's going to tear everything in it, and it's going to have short travel, very shallow travel. Okay. So then that gets you to your big opening, and it gets you to essentially the type of wound for the entry wound that we saw in the video. Okay.
And which could also possibly lead to the artery exploding because of a large entry wound.
Exactly. It would have, because it would have broken apart, and it would have shattered, and it would have just gone everywhere, and it would have torn everything up. Yeah. So
Okay.
it would have cut through anything. It would have been like a bunch of little bitty hot razor blades, essentially. So we know that they've said that there was a fragment of a
trace amount of the bullet found it.
Trace amount of the bullet. Okay. Well, yeah, trace amount of the bullets. So if the organization or the shooter, if he was a solo shooter, if he was intelligent and he mixed it with lead or copper or some other very soft material, that he knew that it would have a very shallow penetration rate. For fuck's sakes, if he had mixed it with one of these frangible bullets, if he had mixed those two compounds and packed those, because that would have been dust that he would have mixed in, and it would have been compressed with the liquefied gallium. So what that would have done is that could have left a small fragment of the round behind. The rest of the round would not have been left behind, because gallium can also, and it would be, dissolved into the bloodstream.
Because
if
the
it was
body
a
temperature being at 98.6 would melt and liquefy the gallium to dissolve in the bloodstream.
Yes, and it would dissolve into the bloodstream really quick.
Except for whatever trace amounts of other type of metal that they mixed with the bullet to hold its structural integrity, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like, if they had mixed a beryllium with the gallium and made that kind of round, yeah, it would have left trace amounts of the beryllium. If they had mixed it lead, if they had mixed it with copper, anything that they would not have wanted to penetrate all the way through, Charlie. Yeah, that other material, you would have had a trace element of it, and you would have had a fragment of it. So here's the bigger thing about the round. This particular round, it can be fired by a standard combustible or combustion type firearm. So
like your regular everyday pistol, right?
yeah, everyday pistol, everyday shotgun, everyday rifle, whatever you've got out there, it can be shot with that. It can also be shot with a high-powered spring rifle. So like your high-powered spring BB guns, if you've got a big enough one. So there are some out there that can actually kill a deer that are that high-powered. You can shoot it with a compressed air firearm. So that would be your airsoft or a high-powered airsoft.
Like a paintball type gun?
Essentially, you could use a paintball gun, or you could use a pellet gun, a compressed air pellet gun. So you could use the CO2 cartridges, or like the old Benjamins where they're pump style. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. But yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
And then kinetic. So there's kinetic is more like a slingshot or something like that. So if you were to have something like a high-powered slingshot, you could shoot it. So I don't know if you've seen these guys that are making these handheld slingshots, and they're using a cap of a Coke bottle or something, and they're putting some BBs in it. They're pulling it back and pop. So yeah, so at close range, it can be done. And here is the biggest thing about it. It has been and is currently still being tested by the military, by the U.S. military. It's also been tested, utilized, and tested still by other operatives and other organizations, both military and paramilitary.
Contractors and stuff like that.
Now let's go into a hypothetical story. I'm going to read my hypothetical story just because I want to get all my facts right on this hypothetical story.
Okay. Once you wrap your story, then I'm going to ask you a few questions.
You want to ask the questions before the story?
No, read your story. Then I want to kind of like, ask some clarifying questions and, ask some things about, just the whole process.
Okay. All right. So this story, I could be a crime book writer, but it had to be short books because I don't have the attention span for it.
Guy shows up, pulls a gun, he gets shot. The end.
Yes. Damn, man, I sent you a lot of bullshit. Beryllium, advanced weaponry, beryllium. Hold on, I'm looking. Okay, so here we are. I did text you that, right? Okay, here it is. Let's play some hypotheticals. Whatever the firing device was is sitting in a freezer in one of the dorms or something, or the shooter had a very small cooler or cooling elements such as ice bags or chill packs. The shooter knows that the target is going to come into sight and be stationary. He takes the cold 3D printed firing device that could have looked like anything. And with the amount of technology nowadays and the possibility of technology behind this, it could have been possible to be very accurate in under 50 foot away. He raises it like a camera or such, puts the target in sight, squeezes the firing mechanism, because the device is either spring air, compressed air, or pressurized. It would have had very minimal sound, maybe like a very loud clap. The large projectile would have traveled at a high velocity which high velocity to this compared to high velocity as in a combustible round is completely different. So a low velocity for a standard munition, high velocity for just
High
moving
velocity
travel.
for eyesight.
Yes. The large projectile would travel at a high velocity and partially liquefied during travel because of friction in the air. The projectile would then make contact, having a snowflake effect, and travel a very shallow distance. The projectile would essentially be completely melted at this point and potentially dissolve into the target, potentially leaving behind any binder material. So in that theory, and in that hypothetical,
it's amazing you graduated school with how you shitty read.
I was a fucking athlete, bitch. So if you look at these hypotheticals and you look at today, so right now I could go online and I could buy what's called a phone gun. It's a 3D printed phone that you turn it over and you can fire combustible projectiles. There's other apparatuses that you can fire with as well that are all 3D printed. You can get some that look like Stanley cups.
I see those little credit card guns at gun shows, that,
Yes.
like that,
Yeah.
And then you just fold them up, a little 22 shingle shot. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's very possible. And so let's say hypothetically, someone 3D printed a cavity infused 3D printed firing apparatus. Let's say that you could fill it with some sort of cool gel, water, anything like that. So because this munition would be a one-time use, all he'd need is one shot at close range. So at the fountain, it was within 30 feet from Charlie. He would have been at the right angle and everything. So let's say hypothetically, this 3D printed apparatus was liquid or gel filled. He had it preloaded. It was sitting in a freezer. He throw it in that backpack. He goes to his position. He gets out there. Charlie starts talking. He raises it. Let's say hypothetically it is in a Yeti or a Stanley cup. He picks it up to take a drink. He has some sort of aiming mechanism that they've worked on over time. He has that trigger mechanism. He pulls the trigger. It fires. No one can tell what it is. And it sounds like a loud clap. And that being covered up by the louder blank round being fired 234 meters behind. How is that a hypothetical? Is that a pretty good conspiracy theory?
That is pretty good.
You want to poke some holes in it?
Okay, so real quick, I have some experience with blank rounds from my first deployment. Blank rounds and live rounds, they have a pretty distinct notion of how they sound. Now, granted, they have still pretty good, sound to them. Like, you still say, hey, that's a gunshot. Does anything about the shot that you heard on that video or any other videos you've seen, right? Granted, you're not there, or does the fact that it was in a recessed area with that echo kind of make it
that's going to degrade the sound regardless. So being in that type of venue, you're going to have so much refraction of sound. It's going to be really hard to distinctly tell what it was, where it was. There's so many different variables of that. So that, number one. Number two, everything we're hearing is off of microphones. So it's going to be hard to figure out the sound. So one of the big things that you hear different on the sound of a live munition round is you hear it come out of the muzzle. So you hear it come out of the muzzle, and then you actually hear whenever it makes that contact all in that split second. So it's very hard to tell in the audio. essentially we would have to be there to really hear it and say, hey man, that sounds different. And then
Yeah.
also, unless you're hearing rounds every day, you don't recognize a difference in that sound. You know, the law
I know
enforcement
they're
are,
not going to. I'm saying like just from based off of what
yeah,
we're hearing, which I know is still going to be almost
it's so
impossible through a
hard.
phone. So,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to get your aspect of
Yeah,
it. So,
yeah, being over the phone, it's so hard to tell the difference. I'd have to hear two shots side by side,
Mhm.
and then say, okay, well, that one sounded a little bit different. That one sounds a little bit more live than that other one. So yeah.
Okay, so now let's go to just square one, gallium bullets. Now you
Okay.
said that as of right now, because the first thing you mentioned, the packed bullets, whatever it was, the
Yeah,
frangible bullets.
frangible.
You can buy those online. We just pulled them up. You can buy
Yeah.
those in a store. Like those are mass produced thing that is
Absolutely.
widely used. People can buy them
And
right
those
now.
are they are actively used right now by a lot of Leos in shoot houses as well as military and shoot houses.
Yeah. But point
get,
being, like, I could go down to the gun shop, buy some right now.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Cool. But you said gallium specifically and beryllium, I would assume, if I heard you correctly, but gallium
Mhm.
specifically, those are in a test phase still when it comes to military, government, and stuff like that. Those are not something you can just buy off the shelf, correct?
Correct. You can't buy those off of the shelf. There are some people on the internet that are manufacturing those. The problem is shipping and everything. So those are typically by gun fanatics or other people that deal a lot with alloys. You can order gallium and beryllium. You can order it in. It is just another alloy. It is a toxic alloy, but you can order it. You would get it shipped in. You'd essentially have all your molds. You would have everything you need to.
So you're saying that, like the frangible bullets, we can go buy those right now, but
Yes.
gallium and beryllium, those aren't public consumption. Those are still in the test phases, only being used
Yes.
by government, military, and stuff like that. So how are we supposed to move with this theory, believing that, just playing the point of, let's say there is no government entity involved in this. Let's move with that theory for now. There is no government entity. There is no military affiliation. This is
Okay.
purely just someone or an organization. There's no government affiliation, but they use this. How do we get there?
Okay. So here's how we would get there. We would go down to wherever your sporting goods store is that sells firearms or ammunition making equipment. So you would get your dies, you would get your casings, everything you need for whichever caliber you want to make. You would buy your gunpowder, everything. And that's even if you're going to utilize them as a combustible projectile. If you're going to use non-combustible projectile, then you don't even need to go that far. So let's take this into two different hypotheticals. If it's off of a combustible projectile, a cool round, so it is not a whole lot of gunpowder is in the brass. So if we're going to make that kind of round, we're going to go down and we'll buy the equipment that we need. We're going to bring it home. You're going to essentially, depending on if you're going to make a all gallium round or if you're going to make a gallium round mixed with a lead or alloy dust, whatever way you want to do it. So then what you're going to do is you're going to get online and you're going to order gallium or you're going to order beryllium or whatever. Let's just say gallium because I think that's the most likely scenario. You're going to order it. It's going to come in. So you're going to heat it all up. You're going to pour it into your mold. You're going to press your mold. Then you're going to put your now currently made projectile, so your bullet. You're going to place it over the top of that casing. You're going to press it in. And then you've got that ammunition. You're going to throw it in the freezer, or you're going to whatever you've got to do to keep it cool. You're not going to want to touch it with your hands or anything like that, at least the projectile itself. And yeah, you can utilize it that way. Now you can make it in slugs, and you can put it in shotgun shells. That's even easier. So you just make a couple slugs, you drop them in, you fold the lid, you do the press, you've got it that way. Now, let's say hypothetically it is a non-combustion round. So you're going to use a spring, a kinetic, something such as that. So whatever form you want that projectile to be, you would order in that beryllium or gallium. You would order in whatever other alloys that you want to mix it with. You put it in your mold, you melt it down, you squeeze it, you get it tight, and you put it in that freezer. Whenever you get to a point, whenever you want to put it into, let's say you've got a spring or an air gun, ghost gun, some sort like that, you would actually preload it, and you would put it into a freezer or whatever you want to do to keep it cool. You could keep it in a refrigerator. It doesn't matter what you want to do. And then when you get to a point, you shoot it. So
Okay.
you can order all these alloys online all day long.
How long has
Here, let
gallium
me back this up real quick. You can order arsenic online right now. So if you can order arsenic, that is a commonly known poison, you think that you can get a less commonly known alloy that's not typically used in nefarious means? Absolutely, you can.
Is denying that. What I'm saying is that since frangible bullets are manufactured and sold publicly, and we're going with what we believe is the gallium bullets that aren't, where do we get these from, and how is this done? That's what I'm saying. So now, how long has, I don't know, gallium bullets been a thing? Like, when was this first kind of hey, check this out, this is what we're thinking about doing, and like, or whatever, like when did this become like a known thing where people started to do this?
I don't know. So whenever you look at the government, I don't know, I couldn't find definitive evidence on when it started to be looked at, but I know for a fact on the private market and people that like to do experiments with firearms, they've been doing it since for the last handful of years, since I think I saw about 2017, 2018, something like that. I thought I saw some videos, and they were shooting slugs with those.
Let's see here. I'm gonna ask Grok, when did gallium bullets start? Confirmed details show the earliest video from January 21st, 2014, titled Gallium Tipped Bullet Nerd Assassin Round. Holy shit. Showed firing a 50 BMG round with gallium in the tip. God damn.
Holy shit.
Earlier concepts appeared in 1998 patent for frangible bullets using gallium tips as a binder.
So there's a proven concept there.
So this has been around for a while. This isn't something like it just popped up, last week.
Yeah, no. I did find since about 2017, it's been tried and true a lot more. Pure gallium slugs such as that have been experimented with.
Inspired by a viewer suggesting as a safer alternative to mercury filled ammo. Okay. Now, what would your perspective be on radical trans activist boyfriend with a furry lover having such knowledge to make a gallium bullet to take out the most prominent conservative speaker of our time? What do you think the odds
possible, not
are?
Plausible. Possible, not plausible.
Okay.
Look, I think anything's possible. The kid was smart. He was obviously an engineer major. He got the state scholarship. Dude was bright in engineering. Is he smart enough to do it? Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I'm dumb as fuck and I could figure it out. I don't think it was him, and I think that it was some sort of other operative, whether it was a foreign operative or I just think it was something state sponsored, honestly. whether it was our state or another state, or some sort of organization that wanted to take out Charlie. I think that him talking against Mossad, I think that goes a long way. I think BB and all them being all butthurt that he was getting out there and saying, essentially, I don't like the direction y'all are going. This is genocide. I think that it gives a bad look for the Israeli government, and the Israeli government needs as much support as they can with all the fucked up shit that they're doing.
Yeah, I don't know, with everything that one has been reported, and then like, so I can't remember exactly which one, but I watch PBD podcast Monday, Wednesday, Friday when they air, because I love their content, and to me it's most fair and balanced stuff I see, and I just learn so much from it. And whenever the Discord chats came out, right, between Tyler Robinson and his furry lover, okay, and it was this incredibly odd conversation. Did you read it?
Oh, absolutely, I did. Absolutely.
So check
It
this
looked
out.
like it was AI generated. Like,
So
why
here,
would
listen to this. So on the PBD podcast, they did this live on there, right? But then on a separate podcast in the same realm with a couple of the same people, because Vincent Oshana, guy I told you I was talking to, he does another podcast called The Unusual Suspects, where they dive into a lot of like conspiracy theories, right? Him and the producer on PBD, Rob. So on PBD Live that day, whenever they were covering them, they plugged in all the chats from the Discord to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT analyzed them and said that this looks like an AI generated conversation. Okay. Now, furthermore, on a different podcast about a couple weeks later, when they were referring back to it, Rob, the producer from PBD on Unusual Suspects, he was saying this was the first time that he had ever plugged in the same prompt on two different AIs, on ChatGPT and Grok, and got the same exact fucking answer. Because usually you can get similar, but goes in a little bit different direction, right? Because it's two different AIs. But he plugged in the same prompt with the same chats from Discord to both Grok and ChatGPT and got the same fucking answer, that it was AI generated, not a genuine conversation between two fucking people.
Yeah, that's weird.
Two different AIs said the same fucking thing.
Damn.
How fucking insane is that?
Yeah, shit don't add up. I don't like it. Like I've said before, like I think that there's too much about it, and I think Candace is going in the right direction on trying to find out the right information about it. I just don't think that she's as inept to getting out there and thinking of the more conspiratorial thought processes like someone like you and I are willing to do. And
I don't think it's so much as
research.
I don't think it's so much she's not thinking so much of the conspiratorial, because I brought this up to you earlier when we were talking about it. So there's no question that if anyone's going to figure it out, it's going to be her. But here's my one issue with her investigation. She is hell bent on the who and the why, right? Which very valid questions, extremely valid questions. We all want to know the who and why as well. But she is, in my perspective, at least from what we have been seeing so far, I don't know if she's doing more research behind the scenes that we haven't been privy to yet, obviously. From my perspective, she has not done enough focus on the how with what. because me and you both agree, I believe, that if she really put more focus on the how and the what, it would drastically narrow down the list to get the who and the why.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so
Especially when you start looking at,
that's my one real issue with her investigation.
yeah, especially when you start looking at other facts surrounding it of that private jet flying, and they say that, you know, the
She really went into it on her podcast on Thursday.
Yeah, the
she found out some
FAA
pretty good stuff,
allowed them to turn off their flight recorder or whatever,
which never fucking happened. No, it's a transponder.
Or it may, yeah, okay, they're transponder. I don't remember what it was, but yeah. So yeah, there's just a lot of shit that goes into it that I'm just like, man, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't really follow any narrative that's out there. That it just doesn't make fucking sense, man. But no, that's my theory on the shooter, and I know it's way out there. I've got a lot of different theories, and I don't know why, but, you know, this epiphany happened to me, and, you know, I started doing my digging and my research, and I actually think that, as far conspiratorial as this could be, I think it is the most plausible.
And now, given the information that we have privy to us currently now, because again, what we first presented, that was our diehard, this is what we think happened, given the information we had. Now, given the new information we had, this is where we're at now. So, barring some insane revelation of new information that we are not yet privy to, this is the hill we're willing to die on.
Absolutely.